So since the drag slash has been released, the actual drag slash by Traxxas, one of the things that a lot of people have talked about is the transmitter with the trans brake, which is this button right here. And the question is it really that good? Is it that great? Well, let's just go over the basics before I tell you what I think. The way it works is you set the throttle input, right? So you press this, you set the throttle input, and then once you release this, whatever throttle input you had, it'll take off at that speed. So say if you set it 50%, you release this, 50% power as soon as you release this. Now, is this a lot faster? Traxxas claims it's a lot faster and you'll have better times. Potentially. Keep in mind that your launch is going to depend on how fast you get your thumb off of this versus how fast you can put your finger, well, your finger would already be on the trigger, how fast you can pull on the trigger. Now, if you're operating this with, you're going to be operating this with two hands. So one hand is going to be supporting it from the wheel. The other hand is going to be supporting it somewhat here and here, because once you release this, part of your thumb is no longer going to be gripping the transmitter. Part of it will. So just make sure you don't accidentally input steering when you release this button on takeoff, or else your car's going to go off to the side, which can be an issue. But you'll get used to it. You do get used to it. And also use your right hand fingers somehow to support the transmitter in other ways once you temporarily remove part of your thumb off of this. But you can get the drag slash, which is great looking, don't get me wrong. As of the time of this video, it's about $500, but it's not really worth it. And the reason why it's not worth it is for the following. There's a lot of transmitters out there that have better range, better response than this one. And the other reason too is you're just setting that in the launch. So to be honest, you're better off getting a different platform, for example, a DR10 or a low-C platform, assuming you want something on the less expensive side. If money isn't an issue, you can always get the high-end carbon fiber chassis and all of that. But we're going to leave those aside. We're just going to focus on the main three RTRs or chassis that are available. You can get a DR10 chassis for about $200 as of this video. The low C is probably about $240, somewhere around there. And you can get your own transmitter, but the biggest thing is the ESC. You can get a Drag King ESC from a clan. Now this one as of now is discontinued, so some places they only whatever you can find in the store, such as in the case of a main. As of this video, right, only in stores. There are some places online that still carry them, but this one here has a 3-stage launch power control system. You can go with the newer one, for example, this one here. This one is available, $260. This one has a 7 setting, so 7-stage launch power setting. Now you do need a program card or a way to connect through Bluetooth, or you can use a hard cable and set the settings, but I will explain shortly what they are. But here's a third option. Now I thought I was in it. Here we go. Oh, I was in it. It's a different tab. This is the Tekin RSX Pro. Now I do like Tekin products. Well, the ones I've used, RX8 really. I've not used this one, but this one also has a 7 setting. This does happen to be the one I'm planning on getting, and the reason why is because the BEC is 5.5 amps on the Tekin versus this one is only a 4 amp BEC. Not that it really matters, but for servo and everything else, if I can get something that can handle 5.5 or supply 5.5 amps versus 4, I'll get the 5.5. Now the other thing too is 70 degrees of turbo timing. This just seems like way too much, so this is something I don't really pay attention. It's mainly the 7-stage launch control. So what this does is the following. You can program it to, when the motor is at a certain speed, it only gives it so much power. So let's just say the motor is, you can set it to say 50% power up to 3,000 RPMs. Once it exceeds 3,000 RPMs to 4,000 RPMs, you can program it to give it 60% power. Once it exceeds 4,000 RPMs to 5,000, it'll give it, say, 70. And then once it hits, say, 10,000 RPMs, it gives it full power. One of the biggest things with track cars is modulating the throttle. If you give it all the power right off the bat, you'll notice that the car, one tire may grip more than the other, and it'll go either left or right really violently, really quick. Or if it accelerates way too quick, it'll jump on that wheelie bar, hit it, and then actually hop on the wheelie bar where your traction tires actually come off the pavement, and that's not good. So that's the advantages with these two ESCs. You can actually program the power modulation on them, versus if you have this transmitter, that's kind of it. I mean, instead of spending all this money, you're better off just learning trigger control on the transmitter. This is a very beautiful vehicle, so I'm not saying do not purchase this vehicle. Definitely purchase this vehicle if you love the way it looks, right? If you love the way it looks and you're happy with spending $500, then it's worth $500. If you want something that is, say, really fast or that you can tune, I would recommend that you just get a roller, buy your electronics, and consider one of these ESCs. One of these ESCs, either this one or the Tekin, with the difference. Let's say you're looking at the DR10, about $200. You get this ESC, for example, that's another $220, so you're at $420. You're probably going to need a program card. If you get the wired one, it's probably about $30 or $40. If you get the wireless one that on board, it's probably about $60. And then you get a transmitter, so that's going to put you at just over the 500 or around the 500. Depends on the transmitter you get. Let's just say you get a Futaba 3PV. It's about $120, $130 transmitter and and receiver. So you're just over the price. You still need to get a body and tires and wheels, but then you can pick and choose the tires and wheels by building your own. You can get the extra wide rear tires, for example, by Proline. You can get whatever body you want. Versus if you buy this truck, it's because you're keeping it stock. If you buy this truck to do upgrades, it'll probably be more expensive than if you just bought the components and built it yourself. So this is a vehicle that is definitely worth the money if you like the way it looks and you want to keep it stock. But if you want to tune, let's just say you wanted to do a stock class with a 13.5 motor, you're going to have to replace the electronics anyway, and you're probably not going to get what these electronics would cost. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. And to be honest, the transmitter is good enough. Do you want good enough, or do you want something that's very good? Those are some of the things to consider. These electronics, the way this is stock, is good enough. This is a much better option with a chassis to go with it. And like I said, this transmitter is really not something you should base your purchase on. This transmitter with the trans brake is not something that should make or break your drag slash purchase. It should really be what you plan on doing with it. And for that reason, you may want to consider purchasing a chassis, for example, this Losi, which has far better suspension geometry in the front. The rear, sometimes there is an issue with the right side, but you can easily fix that by putting washers here. Sometimes when the suspension compresses, it'll hit this little dust cover. So this one will be limited versus this one. But if you put those nylon washers to even them out, you'll be fine. But here you would get an aluminum chassis, better suspension geometry, and then you could also get a better ESC that's programmable, where you can set those settings so as soon as the light goes green, or somebody says go, you can just pull that trigger all the way, but the ESC will modulate throttle for you in 7 different steps, which is great compared to the previous version, which was only 3. And this is a much better tool than a trans brake on a receiver, or transmitter, I should say. Trans brake on a transmitter. So again, it's your money. It's up to you. But in my opinion, the trans brake in the drag slash is not something that should be, it's really not that important, and it's not that special of a product for anyone to base a purchasing decision. Really, if you want to buy the drag slash, you should buy it just because you think it's super cool, because it does look amazing. But if you want something you're going to tune later on, this is really not that important. You're better off getting a chassis. Not necessarily this one. You could get the DR10. I do like the DR10. It's actually my preferred out of the three. And then get this ESC, this one or this one, right? As of this video, these are the two main ones. Maybe some more will come out. That'll be great as well. And then get yourself a 13.5 motor if you want to run stock, or just get a mod motor, right? 3.5, 4.5, whichever. And go out there and just burn some rubber. Well, I hope this video was informative or at least entertaining. Please subscribe if you have not, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching.